Hey guys, good afternoon. Thanks for watching again. Just wanted to do a short video with my overview of the Chris Reeve Sebenza 31, small Sebenza to be exact. So I've been carrying this knife for probably about a week or two, and I have to say it's a good knife. I do like it. There's a lot of great things about it. This one is in Magna Cut Rockweld at 63, 64 HRC, and you can see the beautiful box elder. The grain structure in there, guys. It's really something. Spacer. I should say standoff, excuse me. I did put a milled pocket clip on aftermarket from mxggear.com. Much better clip than the original, in my opinion. Oops, sorry, I bumped the tripod. There's your lockup. About 50-60%, I would say. I have worn this in a lot. I've been opening it on purpose in order to loosen up. I haven't added any lubricant whatsoever, and it seems to be smoothing out. Uh, just also wanted to mention I did spine whack this to make sure that it held up, and it held up just fine. For those of you who don't like it, tough. It's my knife. I bought it. The other thing I want to show you is you can maybe see in the... Oh, you hear that? Nothing. So the lanyard tube, cut that off. I watched a video by another YouTuber. I should link his name in the bottom. It was like Pyaloing, Pyaloing, something like that. Older YouTuber, hasn't posted videos in a while, but he had a very interesting and helpful YouTube video on how to... Here's your centering, by the way. Very good. He made a video on how to remove the lanyard while leaving a little bit of the lanyard still inside of the tube, and yet taking away the rattle that occurs when you remove the lanyard in its entirety. And so what I did was I cut the lanyard, and I seared it at both ends and kind of stuffed it in there. You can still see it poking out a little bit. Maybe it's drastic for some, not for me. It doesn't bother me, and it doesn't interfere with the blade in any way, shape, or form. But I have to say that it's so much better now. That lanyard that comes on it from the factory is certainly not my cup of tea. So, pardon me. What do I think of this knife? Well, to be honest, as I said, it's very nice. It cuts well. The ergonomics, are very plain Jane, if you want to say that. They're very neutral. There's nothing that is necessarily a hot spot per se. I haven't used this for an extended period of time. As I mentioned, I've only probably carried it about a week or two. I have fondled it and played with it a lot, but it is nice. I will say that I do like the raised inlays for the box elder compared to the older versions. There was just like two strips on either side of titanium handle scales. And I do like that the pocket clip also rests on the frame rather than the lock bar. So that's a big plus as well. The flow-through construction, I can take it or leave it. It doesn't really bother me. I will say that ergonomically, this doesn't bother me in hand, really, at all. It's very nice. And I also wanted to mention that in case... Oh, actually, let me point this out. So this little portion right there, that little point, it's not a big deal, but when reaching into the pocket and I just, graze my knuckle alongside it, it can be an annoyance. Same with this little portion. I wish they would have just rounded that off, just chamfered that edge, even this one right here at the back. Just kind of chamfer those three tiny edges all around. It's not sharp, it's not really aggressive, but in the finer details of things, even this one right here, that maybe not that. But in the finer details of things, I've handled a lot of custom knives, and I have to say that that could be just ever so slightly knocked down and would make the knife that much better. But regardless, it's still very well done. I'm just nitpicking. I will say that even though this pocket clip doesn't match, it certainly looks great and it functions very well. Very impressed with it. I do like that the Sebenza has the lock bar cut out on the inside of the frame. And I do notice that a lot of times when you're handling a knife that has the lock bar cut out on the outside, it actually creates a hot spot because think about it, it's this thin piece of titanium. Now it's on the inside, so and also the cutout is a little different. It has like these two little grooves or swoops in the titanium rather than like a straight line across. But even so, if it was on the outside, you'd have this thin. So picture this titanium scale, but flipped over. And I don't think I have an example to show you right now. No, I currently don't. But anyway, imagine that this titanium scale was flipped in the opposite direction. And the lock bar cutout was on the outer side. When you're gripping on that, that's a thin piece of titanium that's digging into your skin, that's digging into your palm, and it's very uncomfortable. Now, that's something that I do notice on a lot of frame lock knives. A lot of makers have the lock bar cut out on the outside. Now, it's not always a deal breaker. It does depend on the knife. It depends on the maker. So that's something you have to examine yourself. I'm just speaking from my own experience that generally speaking, I don't like it. I much prefer the lock bar cutout on the inside. So I applaud Chris Reeve for that. I will say that I've never actually owned a 21 in comparison. So it's hard for me to gauge that. Excuse me. It's hard for me to compare them. You know, a lot of people love the 21 compared to the 31. For many reasons I'm not going to go into, nor do I really care about, because I will say that the Sebenza is not my favorite knife, you know, but it's something that I've always wanted to try and experiment. And I've bought a 31 in the past, and I returned it, and then I bought a different 31. So I bought a small Sebenza 31 initially it was an exclusive to Knife Ship Free, I believe, with their red micarta handle scale inlays. It was nice, but it wasn't as nice as the one that I'm showing you right now. I wound up returning it. Then I bought a large Sebenza 31 in just the black micarta. And that was a little too big for me, personally. And I mean, I just have normal size, large hands. And I have, sorry about that, bump the camera again. I do have larger knives, but that one just, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. Didn't like the design of it in the hands. I like the small Sebenza better. I think that is much more fitting size, at least for me. Now, what am I missing? Oh, I have to say, with as much good as this knife has going for it, I have to say that these thumb studs are absolutely abysmal. I mean, come on. It's a pyramid. It's a point. And it is unbelievably uncomfortable when you're opening it. Now, after finagling it in such a way, I've heard a lot of people say rest your finger at the top of the frame, and then you can use your thumb to slowly roll the knife open, and it doesn't create as much of a hot spot. Yes, that's true. Normally, when I am doing it, I just hold all my fingers to the back of the frame, except my thumb. I put my thumb at the bottom part of the thumb stud, and then I slowly roll it that way. It doesn't hurt as much. Yes, it does create a callus. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but it is what it is. I don't want to say I'm necessarily getting used to it, but it is what it is. But I mean, come on. Tim, oh sorry, there's some tape on the end of the blade, or blade edge there. been using it. I actually use my knives, So, I mean, Tim, Reeve, please replace these awful thumb studs. I understand that some people do like them. To be honest with you, I don't know why, you know, but that's their preference, not mine. But they really are atrocious. So that is the big downfall to this knife. As far as the smoothness, yes, it has been smoothing out since I have been opening it a lot. The only thing is, I will say that, I don't know, it's the lock bar. Okay, oh, that was one thing I want to point out. The lock bar tension on these is definitely much stronger than on the large Sebenza. Okay, so let me see if I can show you a little. Now, if I push against the lock bar, you can actually see the blade fall closed. Now, I'm really putting a lot of pressure on that lock bar. Okay, but when it's engaged, it's very tight. Yes, I can use lubricant and I can use the grease and all types of other things, but I don't know if I'm fully experiencing that Chris Reeve smoothness that so many people talk about. Yes, it's smooth. I don't want to say it's glass on glass, personally. Like I said, I've never owned a 21 to compare it to. I've never owned a 25. Never owned an Nkosi. I do not like the Umnumzan, so don't even try recommending that to me. But it's, it's fine, but I don't know. This knife for me is nice. It's probably something I'll keep for now, but I could easily turn around and sell tomorrow because it's a good knife, but it's not the end all. There, I said it, and there might be some of those who disagree. I might get flack in the comments, but I'm just stating a reality. It is a good knife, but it is certainly overhyped, to be very truthful. So, anyway, I'm trying to see if I left anything out. Talked about the thumb studs, the lock bar, the pocket clip. Yeah, I think that was basically everything, guys. I don't want to ramble and keep you here for no reason. Oh, I will say that the hollow grind I think is done pretty well. The edge from the factory was also pretty nicely done. Out of all the three that I've owned and then returned, or got rid of, I should say, sold, except for this one, the edge has been pretty sharp. I would say that my large Sebenza had the sharpest edge. That was S45VN. This was the first one I've had in Magna Cut. The edge is good. It's not impeccable, but it was still very good. Hollow grind is going to cut very well, and it has performed and done so. I would be curious how the Insingo shape does, that slightly Warncliffe type blade style. You see how that, as you're closing the knife, it just kind of, let me see if I can show you that again. All right, hold on. When you're closing the knife, it doesn't seem to, and I'm not trying to do that on purpose, it doesn't seem to want to steadily close. It has intervals where it stops, where it feels like it's stopping. I don't know. Maybe the camera's not quite picking it up the way that I want to portray it to you, but believe me, it's there. I will say, one other thing I will say, when I did spine whack this, just to test the lock, because that's what it's for. You don't want it to fail on you and then cut yourself. Ask anybody who's had a major accident who had their lock fail them. So it did develop some lock stick for a little while, but it seems to have gone away. It might be the slightest bit. I don't know if you can hear that. See if I can maybe have the camera pick it up. It's still there, just a little, maybe, but it's not drastic. But, It is what it is. Anyway, I think that's all that I have today to share on this knife. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great weekend. Take care.